Hey guys, welcome back to episode 38 of the Precious Metal Gens podcast. I'm Zan here with no Brian, but later tonight we have a great collector's conversation with Aaron at collect underscore like underscore a underscore champion on Instagram. Aaron takes us through his collecting journey and how he kind of arrived at where he is today. But before I jump into that, I realized, on the last podcast there was no interview, so there was not really like a preface or any kind of reinstitution of our earlier segments that we used to do. So I'm going to try to do something like that, just to sort of segue into the podcast, into the interview, that is. So, first things first. Obviously, there are no listener questions, but I'll start putting out uh, calls for that to see if anybody wants us to answer questions on air or not. The first thing I figured I would do is just briefly talk about my recent pickups. So I usually stick to the ones that are in hand only, mainly because I definitely don't want to disclose a pickup and then it gets lost in the mail or something happens, the seller cancels the transaction or what have you. So I posted earlier today a 1999 Ultimate Victory, Upper Deck Ultimate Victory parallel. It's the Ultimate Collection parallel is the name, but I think most people just refer to them as the out of 100. It is the Jason Kendall. It has, it's numbered to 100. There is also a 1 of 1, and it's more gold. The 1 out of 100 is kind of like a silver border, and it has this sort of almost like a 97 rubies effect, but not quite. It's like these amoebas that sort of form this cohesive pattern that I really like. And this was sort of an impulse buy, and where I think it's appropriate and fun to go off your list. Like, this was not a card on my list, but I've always liked the parallel. I saw it pop up on eBay and just bought it. I mean, it was $20 or something like that. So definitely a situation with Kendall, Giles, and Coates where I don't mind going off the list if there's something that is numbered to 100 or less, and it looks cool and it's not too expensive. So I picked that up. I also picked up a 99 Atomic Refractor of Kendall. That is, have not posted that one yet. It is a raw copy, but one that will pair nicely with the 1998. And then I cracked a few of my Giles and Kendall cards out of their PSA slabs. The Kendall Red Crusade, the Giles 24 karat, and the Kendall Starting 9, which I just gotten. Those new PSA slabs, I don't know if any of you guys have tried to crack those, but they are extremely malleable, and it's pretty difficult, even with a pair of like thick or heavy duty pliers to get them out. I think my buddy Chris C Dice Cards uses like a miter saw or something like that to get them out of there, and that may be the most effective way to do it, actually. So it wasn't a huge week of pickups in terms of what I got in hand, but I did make some other purchases of some Randy and Pedro cards that are being shipped to the PSA Vault, and I'm probably going to, they're all raw, so I'm probably going to send them for grading after that. But that was about it. Let me know if you guys picked up anything cool this week. I did want to touch on, I guess, sort of cards of the week, and I already posted these on my story, but I didn't really offer any kind of um, commentary on them. So last Sunday on Fanatics Weekly, there were two 2000 Fleer Showcase Legacy Collection cards. Ken Griffey Jr. in the Reds uniform and Frank Thomas, both slabbed authentic. They ended at what I would say are astoundingly low prices. The Ken Griffey Jr. Sold for $2,640, which is an all-time low for that card. The Frank Thomas sold for $2,520, which I have to imagine is probably a low for that as well. The Griffey, I think when it first surfaced, sold for in 2023 as a graded copy for $5,570. That was the BGS 85, the highest all-time sales, the PSA 9, which was last summer at 6,100. So the 2,640 doesn't make a lot of sense to me. Same with the $2,500 Frank Thomas. Um, there's only 3 Griffies in the PSA Pop, and then you've got 2 or 3 in the BGS Pop. Frank Thomas, same thing. There's one PSA Authentic, an 8, and a 9. And I just saw the 8 today. Someone on Instagram has the 8. I don't know that Frank has sold publicly before. I think I checked Card Ladder and it had not. So I know I've seen it, but it was a bit of a mystifying. And so the only thing that I can make sense of is that people were scared away by the PSA Authentic slab, thinking, oh, maybe there's some kind of defect or, really bad crease or something that the grader person who submitted it didn't want to disclose. But like a lot of the cards in the 2000 Fleer Showcase set, the Griffey and the Thomas are both miscut. So either the person submitted these the first time and got an N8 and got the card kicked back, or, they just went authentic the first time. But if they didn't, then they probably learned their lesson and went authentic the second time. I mean, the Thomas is quite clearly off-centered, and the Griffey has that slant from the right corner is higher up than the left corner. This is a factory miscuts on a lot of these cards. So I have to imagine that people didn't realize that, but I think there's enough people out there who do know that. And even if they weren't miscut, why would you not go for the Thomas or Griffey if you collect those guys? When I posted this on the story, a lot of people said, "Oh wow, I didn't even realize that those were up there," which makes more sense to me. I just, had I known, well, I did know I was watching them, but I'm out of the market for buying stuff to, try to trade. I didn't really want to spend $5,000 on these 2 cards to then just go and trade them or what have you. But I think if I collected either of these players, I would have been all over these. So I thought those were unusual sales. And if you got either of those cards, you did a fantastic job. Let me know if you wound up with them. I would be really intrigued to figure that out. The other card I looked at this week it sold a couple weeks ago, was the 1998 PMG of Roger Clemens. And that thing went crazy. I think it's ended at $10,100 or something like that. And so that's by far the highest sale that I know of. You had a Chipper Jones in a couple nights ago for almost $8,000. So these McGuire, I guess I'm expanding here. McGuire, almost $14,000 a week ago. I think last Sunday. So you've had a number of Hall of Famers or Hall of Fame level players selling for, 5 figures. And so the Clemens surprised me a little bit. It's a great card because there's a rocket in the background, but Clemens doesn't generally have a very strong market. He should, but he doesn't typically. And so I thought, well, I think I had bought my Pedro a few months ago, 2 months ago, for $7,500 bin. And so that seems to me very, very reasonable in light of what these PMGs have been doing the past few weeks. And I know that they've been going crazy for some time now, but these sales were, I think the Chipper's probably an all-time high. I'd have to look at that. Clemens is an all-time high for him, and then the McGuire's right on par with an all-time high. So people are, if you collect um, a Hall of Famer or a guy who should be in the Hall of Fame, that that window on getting the 98 PMG for any kind of deal is slipping away. The Frank Thomas did $36,000 not long ago, a couple months ago. So we're seeing I think everybody knew that these cards were going to go up, but they had already gone up sizably once, and we're still in the relative short term. Um, so big sales in the 98 PMG market. I think you'll continue to see a lot of big sales there because again, people are we're starting to see it with Bonds and Griffey. I saw Aaron Compton's cards repost something today. But he mentioned Bonds and Griffey kind of taking off, and he's right. Like those guys are. We're starting to see Griffey inserts do what MJ inserts do, and that seems to me unsustainable. Just because there are so many copies like base refractors doing insane numbers in PSA 10s. It seems like we're getting a shift of people who are deep pockets that are not really interested in the cards themselves and see Bonds, Griffey, and Jeter as a really solid way to make money. And then they'll pass the buck, to the next buyer and leave them holding the bag. So if you collect any of those three guys, either beware of the high end stuff or at least, you know, stick with the lower end and maybe find your niche somewhere that's not in the 98 PMG or 99 rubies or 99 PMG, that type of thing. Cards outside of those. So just, I hope, that we don't see this influx of bad behavior, but I think it's already starting with some of these sales. So just be aware of that. All right, well, I won't talk any longer. I am going to have Aaron on. I hope you guys enjoy this conversation. I think he offers some really interesting and universally true things and experiences that he's dealt with that I think everybody will be able to relate to no matter when you came into cards. So, hope you guys enjoy this, and we'll see you after. All right, we are here with Aaron. Collect like a champion. Aaron, how you doing? Thanks for joining, man.
Yeah, I'm good, Zan. Thanks for having me on. This is this is cool.
Yeah, absolutely. We've been wanting to get you on for a bit. So first thing we kind of we'll jump into some 90s, but how I start every kind of segment with a guest is take me back to how you started collecting, when you were younger or whatever age it was, and then your kind of your journey up until the present.
Yeah, so I used to collect as a kid. I'm in my mid 30s now. So I'm a born and bred 90s kid. So I used to collect in the early 90s. I remember opening up a lot of shiny stuff back in the day. Um, yeah, I think my earliest memories from collecting cards, at least, was me and my dad used to rip a lot back in the day. I remember he'd come home pretty much, every other Friday probably, and he'd have a little. I hope to God, the grocery bag with the box of cards in it, or like multiple, packs and stuff like that. I used to open up a lot of packs, and I really didn't have any direction collecting or anything like that. It was just kind of for the fun of it. But it was mostly baseball that we used to collect or open. A little bit of basketball here and there, but really it was the focus was ripping packs, opening packs, going through stuff like that. So I collected from probably the age of, we'll say, like 5 or 6. I remember opening as far back as that, till probably I was about like 12, I would say. And I was pretty heavy into it. I remember, going on family trips, and one of the biggest things was, where's the local card, shop? Where is it? And I remember, meeting friends and going to the local shop in town. So like, I have a lot of, connection to cards and opening packs and tons of stuff like that as a kid. And then I took a break, like everybody does, from age 12, because when it's no longer cool to collect cards, and just fast forward to essentially, I can't remember if it was during COVID or right before COVID, but I remember having my cards at my house, and I remember going through them, and like I don't know, 2 or 3 days after that, I remember my friend. I met up with a friend for lunch. It must have been during COVID when the restrictions got lifted. And I remember we met up for lunch, and he opens up the back of his car, and he's got an entire trunk full of vintage cards. And I'm like, that's crazy. I just remember the other day that I just went through mine. So instantly, I start going through his, and the fire gets ignited, and so I've kind of been taken off like a rocket ship since then. Um, yeah, that's pretty much. And then, I mean, I don't know how far you want me to go, Zan, so I'll just keep going.
No, it's okay. Quick question. So when you were opening packs and stuff, was there a particular like product you really liked, or what was kind of the memories you had
Yeah,
of like type sports or anything
yeah.
like that?
I mentioned this a few months ago. I was on the shallow end with Dave, but I remember really early on, we were opening really good stuff. Like looking back, I'm like, I wish we opened more of it. But like 96 Select was one that we opened a ton of. And there wasn't even a ton printed in that. It was just like, I remember vividly when I got back into it, and I was like looking at what cards I had. I remember I had like, I didn't have rare select gold, like mirror golds or anything like that, but a lot of my cards were like, base selects. And I'm like, what was I doing back then? So thinking back was kind of crazy. I also weirdly remember the Mega Heroes set with like the weird, you'd like rotate it and you get the cool like dogs in the background. Like there's this cool Mo Vaughn, for example, that like
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
you
yeah.
turn it and it like turns him into like a gambling bulldog or something. And then I remember there was one at Jack McDowell. That's crazy. I just remember this name. But it was him, and he was a gunslinger in the when you tilted it. And I remember I used to think that was the coolest thing in the world. Um, but yeah, so those are the types of stuff we were opening. It was just pure '90s stuff. I don't think we ever really, opened like metal or anything like that.
Right.
I don't remember that, but we were opening good
And
stuff.
those mega heroes aren't those the ones that we were looking at that like a lot of them have cracks down the middle now, right? Isn't that set?
Yeah, I remember a few months ago. I remember I messaged you a few months ago, and I was like, I got this Mo Vaughn from one of my friends, and it's like cracked down the middle, and it doesn't match the
Yeah.
shiny glossy one that I have. And then I remember going through like the rabbit holes trying to figure out whether they make fakes or not. Um,
That's
but,
right.
but yeah, there was definitely a printing issue with them because why would somebody fake that?
Yeah, right, exactly. So before we get into kind of how you've taken turn towards I guess move on, what tell me a little bit about I guess since COVID, the trajectory you've followed and how that's evolved. Take me through the various stages.
Yeah, like I said, I met up with my friend, and I remember um, I started looking. He had Willie Mays cards, Jackie's, but all the hot vintage that was, peak COVID, like with the pricing. And I remember I went home and I'm like, I want to buy cards now. He gave me like a few to take home, and I remember one was like the Griffey rookie. And I'm like, this is amazing. I don't think I ever owned this as a kid, so this is cool. So like the itch ultimately just started, and I remember I was very like I was all about it. I like got home, I made an eBay account, the whole nine yards. You're in it, and I'm like, what am I gonna do? And so I instantly started. For some reason, I came up with the brilliant idea of just collecting MVPs and like Cy Youngs, like their best rookie cards, or that I could afford. Um, and I started doing that for probably, I don't know, 3 or 4 months. I was just buying straight up, you know, like Mike Piazza rookie cards and like one of each, and like Chris Bryant was getting bought. Like there was no rhyme or reason to it. It was just like Mike Mussina was I believe a Cy Young winner. I had one of his. Like just it was a lot of nothing that I really was connected to. But I had a list, and I was working off the list, and I remember one day I went to my local card shop and I saw like the new Bowman stuff, and I was instantly like, "Holy God! I didn't even know that there was like colored parallels and all that stuff." And this was right around the time like Jason Dominguez was having like $1 million sales, and I was like, I should get into prospecting. So then I started moving some of the MVPs and the Cy Young stuff. that I had, started collecting, and I moved into prospecting for a while. And I was like, starting to follow the prospects on like MLB.com, like, or, and following them. And then I was starting to buy them. And I'm like, at some point, I'm like, what am I doing? I just spent $60 on like base chrome of like somebody I'll never, that might not even make the majors. Um, and then I don't know. I started, you just start experimenting as you're going about. And then I remember I got really heavy. I used to listen to a lot of Stacking Slabs, or I still do. So I listen to a lot of Brett stuff, and Brett was, you know, he had people on all the time talking about like early Prism stuff being like a good investment and stuff like that. So I remember dabbling into like 2012, 2013 Select and Prism and stuff like that for a while. But again, I didn't really feel a connection to it. And, I'm a huge wrestling fan ever since like Stone Cold, The Rock, Undertaker, all those guys. And I remember one day being like, I should collect wrestling. And you see what's happening here, right, Zan? I just kept cycling out. So it was like,
Yeah.
but I was buying, select golds of like, Hulk Hogan and like, Shawn Michaels and all the guys I remember watching.
Hmm.
Um, and I was starting to really get heavy on wrestling. And this was all the while like, Mo Vaughn was always like one of my side guys. Like I would always pick up a Mo if I saw it in person. And, my good friend who got me back into it would also send me care packages with tons of Mo Vaughn all the time. So like once a month, I get a little package that he'd run across a Mo, he'd put it into a stack for me, and I just start, chipping away at his master list, you'd say. Yeah, I don't know. And then things just kind of kept cycling, man. I'll tell you, it's a lot. I feel like as a collector, you just always reinvent yourself. I feel like, all the time I'm like switching lanes of what I'm doing. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
it's like, and we've talked about it before. It's like if you don't experiment, it's like that's how you learn things. And so like my learning process was just like pick up, hold it for a little while, see if it hit. If it didn't hit, I moved it.
Yeah. And you
Um,
had the Antoine Walker phase too, right?
yeah, I actually had some really nice Antoine cards, and it was like the Duncan Go Nuts was one of my favorites and stuff like that. I had a lot of his gold finest and stuff in all those cards, but again, I don't know if you've ever ventured. I don't know if you ventured in basketball at all.
Couple times, it's just too expensive.
Yeah, you go broke, man. I'll tell you. Like,
Yeah.
like I was spending I mean I wasn't going crazy, but like I everything I was spending on Antoine, like looking back, was like ultimately taking me away from like what I want to do now. And so it's
Yeah.
like it's like go, but I wouldn't have known that, So
Yeah, it's like the basketball, I would say B-listers, but I would say like lower end stars are
yeah,
still more expensive than the higher end stars in like football and baseball.
yeah,
So you're accustomed to buying like a nice Flair Showcase card at X price, and then you have to pay a lot more just for a
hmm,
guy who still good, but it's just not the
yeah,
same gratification.
yeah. And you know what's funny? It's like he let's just say what it was. Like I grew up in the '90s. I watched Paul Pierce a lot. It was Paul Pierce, Antoine Walker. Um, the Rick Pitino era happened when I was a kid, and so like Antoine was the safe play for me because it was like cheaper than Pierce. It's like if I wanted to go to Pierce, I would have been spending like 3 times what I was paying on Antoine, and I'm like, to me they're comparable. Like he's a Hall of Famer. I probably liked Antoine more as a kid. Pierce was the better player, but Antoine was like the fan guy, like favorite when he was
Hmm.
on the Celtics. So it was really easy for me to be like, let's get my toes wet that way. So yeah, and then a few months ago when I was on Dave's, we had a call about I can't collect everything was kind of like
Right.
the topic of our call or my episode that I was on, and also like during that same time I was doing Antoine, I was also collecting Red Sox stuff. So I was adding like some vintage Red Sox, some Bowman first chrome autos, like really low numbered stuff of guys. I was just like, they're just on the Red Sox. I'm just collecting them. So really, the ultimately on that episode, it was like I can't collect everything. So I've kind of burned it down since, and I would focused on Mo for the longest time, and really like I've gone like 3 weeks without buying a card right now, and I'm like itching to.
I think to your point about just kind of going through all that stuff and the experimentation, I don't think I've met anyone through the show or on Instagram who hasn't done that. who hasn't gone through a number of different PCs, who hasn't
Yeah.
dabbled in modern and speculate. Because when we get in, you hear from the biggest voices and you're like, oh, this is my chance to make some money while I'm having
Hmm.
fun. And so we all do that. I think that I don't know a single person who's come in, started collecting a player, and they're still doing it for same player 4 or 5 years later without diverging at all.
Yeah. I don't see how you would do that, man. That's like,
It takes the fun out of it too, I think, because
that's
you
like,
explore other avenues.
they never tell you when you start collecting cards, you need to practice mindfulness, because like
Right? Yeah.
clearly, like whoever, if somebody was doing that, they're an expert at that. So like, I 100% agree with you, but I think it's really easy to fall into, you know, the trap of throwing a podcast on. I always think of it as like
Right.
I go for a walk and I, start as one collector and then I end the walk as a, in a different area come entirely. It's so easy to fall into it, or you like pop on a YouTube video or something and you can easily get influenced to, you know,
Branch out.
yeah.
Yeah.
And so
So
I think
what
I fell
what
victim to that.
what was the first for Mo Vaughn? You've geared your focus now towards him principally. What was the first Vaughn card that you got that really started you down that path and made you say, all right, I really want to be primarily known for my
Yeah.
player collection?
That was actually, I've thought about this before. And I think the first card I thought of was my 96 Select Mirror Gold that I
Mm-hmm.
wanted. But the first card that I got where I was like we're going to turn this Mo collection from pennies and dollars to like an actual like thing here. Like this is happening.
Mm-hmm.
Was the 98 Super Rave when that became available. Um, I think that was the first time I ever saw something, a Mo card, and I was like, I need to have that. I love that. Um, and like at this point, I had committed. Like I was like, I'm either going for it or I'm not. So it was very like, taking the money that I was spending in Antoine and putting it, taking a sidestep and putting into a super rave out of 25 for Mo Vaughn seemed like a no brainer to me. Um,
Where did you come across that one?
I found it on eBay.
Oh, wow.
So what's
Okay.
what's funny about that is I actually remember what I sold to get that. It was a Roman Reigns Select Gold that I had, and I remember I texted my again. I have a good buddy who's in cards full time, so if I mention him, that's why. He does a lot of mine when I need to move something. I don't deal with eBay. eBay and me do not get along in terms of the post office loses that half the time when I was selling, so I don't sell on there. Um, but I remember texting him and I'm like, I could sell this Roman Reigns card right now, buy the Super Rave, and just get after this Mo Vaughn collection. And I don't know. I Next day I sent it to him. It sold within a couple days, and then the Super Rave. Like, who's going to go on there and spend $400 plus or $500, whatever I got it for, on a Mo Vaughn card? And so, like a couple years ago, that seemed insane,
Right.
at least to me. So I was like in no rush to I didn't think I had to like race to get it. But I saw it on eBay, and when I sold my stuff and I had the money, I was like, click and just you know either message him, sending him an offer, I forget, and then he accepted it, and then it came in, and then when I got it in, and it, for some reason never looked, it was reverse jersey number, and I'm like, it's kind of cool in a way. Like
Yeah.
that's a little. It's not the reason I bought it, but
Yeah, yeah.
it was one of the first things I noticed, and yeah, and that was the first one, man. And then I was like, this actually is a thing. And then you could see like the house started burning down. Like I was
Right,
selling
yeah.
stuff, and I'm like, we're going all in on Mo, and we just kind of went with it.
What well, tell me that one of my favorite acquisitions and sort of your discovery is the certified team gold miracle. How did you get that, and,
Oh
and
yeah,
kind of what happened with that realization?
I don't remember the timeline exactly, but I'm pretty sure the only reason that I followed Aaron at the other Aaron, the better Aaron, at Compton Cards was because I heard him on your podcast talking about like Auburn and A Rod, and I was like, that sounds kind of cool, and I found him and I followed him. And I didn't think anything of it. I forget if it was before or after, but somehow he was following me. But I think that's the timeline. Um, so, anyways, like I said, one of my friends would mail me Mo's all the time, and they were like dollar Mo cards, like ones you'd find in a dollar box. And he found one in Leominster, Mass, and I got the package. Didn't think anything of it. I have my little case, my case over here. I just throw them all in, check them off on my checklist, and I'm like, they don't see the light of day, or they go in my binder, and that's it, you know. And one day I was just like pawing through. I hadn't had any pickups for a while, and I remember I was like, this card's pretty cool. It's really shiny. I should take a picture of it and just throw it up on my Instagram. So I this was right when my Instagram kind of was getting going. Um, so I posted it, and I thought it was like just the base one or the one out of like 4.99. I didn't
Yeah.
think anything of it, and I posted it. You know, submit, post. I put my phone in my pocket. I went down the stairs, and I'm sitting on the couch, and I don't know. I was sitting there for like an hour, and I pull out my phone, and I got a message from somebody I've never talked to before. He's like, "Hey man, quick question. Is this the mirror gold?" And I was like, "No, it's just the base." He's like, "Oh, it's really shiny," and I'm like, "Yeah, it's a good looking card, huh?" And or something like that, you know, just very nonchalant. And I'm like, why is this guy hitting me up? You know what I mean? And so like I put my phone back in my pocket, and then you know how it is. It You start getting that itch where you're like, maybe it is. I don't know. Like I'm sitting there, I'm like, why would I ever receive that in a
Yeah.
a package, and why would my friend ever find that in a dollar box? And so I'm like, all right, let's go. I pause my show or whatever. I go upstairs. I paw through the case, and I'm like, yeah, I think this is just the numbers, like whatever the number is for the card in the set. And then I think I message Aaron back, and he goes, "Oh no, they'll have like a little number that's like under his face or something, and it's kind of like branded in." And he's like, "If it's
Right.
like less than 25, you have the mirror gold." And I'm like looking at, it, I'm like, I have number 19 or like 17, and I'm like, I take a picture of the front, I take a picture of the back. I go, is this the real thing? And sure enough, it was. And so we found that in a dollar box. I didn't even have to
That's
fork over
crazy.
anything to get it, but just by chance. And so I mean, like, but again, I never would have seen that if I hadn't made an Instagram and like got
Yeah.
turned into a complete nerd status with this whole card collecting thing. Um,
I, that was the clearest sign that you should be a Mo collector. I think
Dude,
was to find one of the hardest cards to find for guys in
I
that
was shaking.
collectors and players in that set. Yeah.
And you know, like we've talked before, like I'm learning this as I go here. Like, you know
Right.
what I'm saying? I'm not like I don't have like print runs memorized and all that. And I'm like, what is this? I'm like, no, it's just base. And then I'm looking it up,
Yeah.
and I'm like, well, who's like the comparable player that to Mo, so I can like see what the value is of this to see whether or not I actually have something. And I usually use Albert Bell as like my guy. I don't know. It's
That's a
just
good one. Yeah, that makes sense.
well, we were like I always had like a three. It was like Juan Gonzalez, Albert Bell, and somebody else. But they're all, and then I just started saying it's Albert Bell.
Yeah.
Um, but we used him, and I'm like looking at the comps, and I'm like, you know, I'm like, okay, now this is suddenly the most
Yeah.
valuable card I own, like
Right. Yeah.
on a random Tuesday night, you know, at 9 o'clock at night. So
And then that
it's
started
a
you down the road. I mean, that $1 card, well, not $1, the card you got for free started you down the road of sinking most of your hobby money into
but
that one.
it was like literally the Super I got that, and then it was like that story happened like a few days later, and I was like, "What?" I'm like, "I'm on a heater." And then like a little while later, I picked up the Select Mirror Gold. Like I ended up getting that. There's a whole story on that in the shallow end when I did that, so I'll save everybody the time on that. But yeah, I mean, once I just started accumulating these, I'm like, this is great. And I don't think we ever talked why I collect Mo. So
No,
uh,
yeah, tell me like why him over, why the hit dog over, some of the other potential
yeah,
players like Nomar, Pedro, or whomever.
yeah. So my I grew up. My dad had partial season tickets, and so we would go down to Red Sox games. I grew up in southern New Hampshire, so the drive wasn't too long. And I remember we'd go to one or two games a week, or every other week or whatnot. But our seats were like 10 rows off first base, like directly in line of Mo. And if you don't remember what Mo, it's hard to explain like what he was. He was like this whole. He was literally like the their best hitter in a dark time. Like they had
Yeah.
good players. They had Clemens, and but he's not hitting homers. And so for like a young kid, you're sitting there and you're like, who's the guy? It's Mo. And then
Hmm.
Nomar came around. I think it was like, I want to say like 97 or something when
Yeah.
Nomar came around. By that point, I was already well established as Mo was my guy. Um, it's funny though. I've on all these games I'd go to, Mo, I never got his autograph in person. Out of all these
Really?
as a kid, yeah, I just remember it was always like we'd go early, stay late. Never got his autograph, but still, he's like. I think whenever I pick up, and this is just when I think of Mo, and I don't know how familiar you are with Boston sports, but like Joe Castiglione's voice, pretty much every time I pick up a Red Sox card, plays in my brain. Like
Yeah.
so. I think it's just like it's a pure nostalgia thing for me. But yeah, Mo is just my guy. I don't know. It kind of seems like a joke when I say it out loud, but it's like,
No, I mean he's a massively underrated, massively important player of the '90s. Won an MVP. I mean, was just a
yeah,
sheer force in the middle of the order for the Red Sox for the whole decade until he went to the Angels. And so,
yeah. He's a
and
Cape
that's
legend too. He's a really good big Cape guy, too, Cape Codley guy.
right.
Um, yeah, he's just a New England legend that I just like was drawn to. So I'll leave
And
it at
and
that.
and I, and I like that there's not a lot of Mo Vaughn collectors. Like you're one of I think maybe the only one. Do you know of any others?
I've seen like one or two handles on Instagram with like Mo Hit Dog Collector or something, Hit Dog 42 Collector or something. But I don't think they're like active, so I don't know what the deal is. But um, yeah, I've suddenly just became the Mo guy. Like anytime a Mo Vaughn card pops up, regardless of what team he's on, I get a message about it. Um, all my buddies know that like stay away from Mo if a Mo comes in, or
Yeah.
or but it also works the other way. If I'm trying to like move a Mo to like get into a bigger Mo, they think I'm like pulling the wool over their eyes. So it's like they're not gonna like take something from me.
Yeah. Did, so here's one thing. I mean, you're pretty. I would say you're 80% no on this, but like in the '99 products, and he's in, except for the PMG, he's in Angel's gear, so 24 karat. The '99 rubies, his starting nine, like a lot of them. I think the starting nine might be in Red Sox uni, but a lot of the '99 stuff
Mhm.
is Angels uniform. So,
Yeah.
is that something that you could ever see yourself going into if you kind of exhaust all the Red Sox cards on your list?
Um, I'm not gonna say no. Like
Right.
I'll crack eventually. I've been pretty good for almost 6 years now. So staying just socks. I mean, I have a couple angels like short printed cards in my case that are worth probably like $50. But I think if I was ever going to buy 99, I think I personally, and this might be a hot take, would probably pull the trigger on a Star Rubies before I would a 24 karat gold, strictly because I like the image better on the card.
Hmm.
It's like him like follow through. I think it just presents a lot better. Um, I mean, I'd like that. I'd love to own both, but um, I think if I was going to buy a 99, it would be the Star Rubies. A lot of times I've thought about it, and I'm like, it's not the insert, not like the spring fling one. I'm talking about like the
Right.
base run one.
Yeah.
Um, I don't really care for the spring fling or like the MLPD PMG or whatever it is
Right.
that he's in. I think you know what I'm talking about.
Yep.
Um,
Hmm.
but I think if I was going to pull the trigger on a 99, it would be those two. But I think that I would prioritize the Star Rubies just because I like the look of it better. Not to say the 24 karat gold isn't awesome. It's a probably better than awesome, but I just like the shot better. So I'm that's what draws me to the card first. It's like what the image is showing versus like the
The
rarity and
effect.
stuff. Yeah, like if you
Right.
had two rare cards and you're like, which one do you like more? Like I display my cards, and so like I have a case I put them in, and like when I walk into a room, I like to just like look up and be like, yeah, that's sick. Like you know what I mean? And so, um, yeah. But if I ever cross that, I could see myself crossing it if like I really knocked off a good chunk of what I don't have. And like
Right.
my what I don't have isn't even really that long. Like I don't have the PMGs. Like I very rarely see those pop up.
You have the '99, I thought, right?
I have the 99, and there's that
Right.
one's beat to crap, and I love it.
Yeah.
It's number one in the print run too. Um, but I picked that up a few months ago. I actually really like that one. I had never owned one like a PMG at all before getting that one. Um, so I can just imagine how nice the 98s are because like you look at the price and it's like 100x. Like so, I know it's the first in the print run. Um, but I mean, do you want me to tell you about some of like the cards
Y-
I'm looking for or like that are
Yeah,
high on
I
my
do
list?
because I want to know. Well, before that, tell me your top five that you have right now. I'm assuming
Hmm.
probably we've already talked about maybe three or four of them, but give me your
Yeah.
top five.
Okay. I was trying to do a rankings list on my piece of paper here, and I came up with seven. So can I give you
Okay.
seven?
Yeah, sure.
we'll
Yeah,
give we'll
please.
give you two honorable mentions.
Okay, there we go.
One of them was something that you posted today, the '97 Flair Showcase Legacy Row Zero. But of Randy Johnson, you posted. I picked up the '97 Flair Showcase Legacy Collection Row Zero out of 100. I think that's probably like my number seven, and I absolutely love it just because of the fact that it has that blue cursive font on the front.
Right.
Um, you can see it across the room. It's just like it's a banger. Um, and I like the sparkle on it. It's a good looking card. If anyone listening to this hasn't seen those are I can't speak more highly of those. Um, Number six, and this is going to be controversial. 98 Bowman's Best Atomic Refractor Mo out of 100. I put that at number six strictly because I looked for it for like 2 years. And every time that one would get posted, it would get snapped, it would get picked up overnight when I was sleeping. And I'd wake up and it's like you go to the sold and you see it. And then I bought one and I'm like, this card is incredible. And then guess what happened? A second one came up. So like the second I bought one, it stopped becoming rare apparently. But I absolutely love that one, the Atomic
Is
Refractor.
that
It's not
is
crazy
that what is
expensive.
it controversial because you think you have it too high or too low?
I think it's controversial that I have it over the Row Zero Flair Showcase. I'm
Okay,
looking at
okay.
my
So you
list
think
here.
it's too high? Okay, okay.
I
I see.
personally am
People
putting
love
it
that set
sixth
though.
because of the hunt that it required me to, it required me to be patient for a while. And when I bought it, I remember I was watching the Pats on Sunday Night Football one night and it popped up and I think it might have been listed for all of 40 seconds and then I hit bin. And then
Nice.
I was like, I just bought this. I sent it to my friend. He's like, how much did you pay? And I'm like, it didn't really matter. I think I probably paid what it was worth, but like I didn't even negotiate. It was just a bin smash. But it had been about 2 years. I've been waiting for it, and it's like not even that rare.
It's a great, but those sometimes just don't pop up for long periods of time.
Yeah,
You know.
I just think they're just very. If you're getting try to get into '90s stuff and you want to try something like that, is a great entry point. Um,
I agree.
and I'm not talking down about it. I
No,
just think
yeah,
it doesn't measure up to the ones I'm going to say right now.
sure.
Let me grab some water. So number five, here we go. So number five, I put the '98 Super Rave out of 25. Only because when you pick it up, the gold sparkle in it really reeks '90s. And it's out of 25. They're crazy hard to like. Mine's raw. I don't think I'll ever grade it. The chip. I've owned other Super Raves in this set and like raves and stuff like that. The Super Rave just hits different. Like you pick it up and you're just like, you know, you hear like '90s rap essentially in your head when you're picking it up with all the vibrant colors in the background. But that's a cool one. But I put that number five also because that was one of the first cards I picked up that like catapulted me into doing Mo as my main lane. We're like 30 minutes in, and I said lane for the first time.
There you
Um, Doing pretty well.
go.
So number four, 98 Essential Credentials Future out of 81. And that's the one that has like the red background, not the puke green now. I picked that one up right around Christmas time. Guy on Instagram made it available. I actually hadn't seen one pop up on eBay or anything for a long time, and then you know what happened, right? I bought mine, and then one came up on eBay like immediately after. So I don't know. That card just if for anyone who hasn't picked it up, and it's like crazy clear. It's like hard. I can't even imagine like how hard it is to grade that card. Mine's a PSA 8, and I'm like, this is super high grade for this set.
Yeah, it really is.
But yeah, I love that one. I think that one I like the image shot too. He pops
It's
off the
great.
background. Um, Number three is the 97 Pinnacle certified gold team mirror gold, the one that I talked about where Aaron pointed it off. Um, that one's awesome. Like I don't think I've never seen even another player. Like I go to card shows all the time up here, and like I've never even seen another one like any
Yeah,
player. So
they don't pop up much at all.
yeah. Um, but yeah, that one. What was I remember? It had the peel on it still. I didn't mention this in my story, but it still had the peel on it, and I left it on for like 3 months after. And again, I was like, I really want to see what it looks like without the peel on. And then it was like performing surgery in my office. It was like,
Yeah, yeah.
you're like,
You gotta be
if I pull
careful.
it, yeah. But that one is just like, that one's more like if somebody walked in and you're like, show them the best cards in your collection. Mine's raw, so I don't know if anyone would actually get it at first until I like explain to them like how it's only out of 25 because it's hard to spot.
Right.
Um, number two, let's see if you can guess what number two is. Um, I'll just tell
I
you what
would.
it is.
I was it Mirror Gold or the Crusade Red? I would guess.
Yeah, so it's I put the Crusade Red here, and we're gonna do 1A, 1B. I'm gonna go on
Yeah.
record and just say that that's probably we're gonna put that as 1B. So number two is the 98 Donruss Crusade Red out of 25. That card I picked in. There's another good story about that one. So if you want me to share that one, I
Yeah.
can.
Please do. Yeah. Tell
We'll pack the hour here. So
me.
so for those of you who didn't listen to the shallow end, your lovely host here is the one who tipped me off to the fact that the 97 masterpiece row zero was being sold on Fanatics because I never go on there. And so Zan told me, and I went on and I was part. I did a huge consolidation at the beginning of the year where I sold off like we're gonna talk like we're gonna a few $1,000 in cards, and that's a lot for me. It was a good chunk of my PC for Notre Dame, which I didn't mention is something I also collect. So collect like a champion's a play on play like a champion because I was a big Notre Dame collector for a while. Big huge fan. I sold pretty much my entire Notre Dame collection to make a run at the masterpiece row zero. We're talking, yeah, it was a lot. Like, I probably regretted some of it now because, like, the Bowman U stuff's going through the roof these days. But I ended up losing the auction, and it led me to the Donruss Red Crusade. It was the first card I bought with the funds that I had for my consolidation, and I had been looking at it for like 3 years on eBay, like just marked it, just sat there and sat there. And then right when I lost it, I think the next morning I just bought it. Like I didn't care. It was like and then it comes in and
Consolation.
yeah, it comes in and I picked up the purple and green to go with it. And I kind of just like put the red up in my case. And then like now it's time, now that I've marinated it for a while, it's the real deal. It's a really nice card. It's like if you wanted it, it's probably the only card in my entire collection that if somebody knew nothing about sports cards and I handed them it, they'd be like, okay, this is awesome. It's kind of like holding like a medal, like an Olympic medal almost. It has that bit that pops off the card. It's really nice. Yeah, it will never leave my collection. We'll just say that it's off limits. But it's a gorgeous card, and I think there might still be a red, another one copy actually on eBay that's just crazy water damage. I looked at that for a long time, and I was like, I can't do that. Like, I just can't do it.
Yeah.
Mine's a PSA 7, which is I don't know. That's probably fair. That's probably pretty good for that set.
Yeah.
Um, but it's a gorgeous card, and so it solidified itself as like number two or 1B on my
And
list.
that call to arms layout for me showcases the shine better than the standard one does.
Yeah, it's just an awesome card, and like I said, if you wanted to show one card in my collection that's like the card, that's probably the one that I'm gonna
That's a great pick.
flash. Yeah,
All
and
right,
then
number
so
one.
number one was my number one chase card as a kid, and was the select 96 select mirror gold out of 30. Um, and that was probably the only reason I put that one is because I'm not joking you. When I think of like cards as an adult now, and even before like when I was collecting all the other stuff. This was literally like the card I think of when I think of sports cards. I remember having like the base early on as a kid. Like it was one of the cards in like my case, like, and I'm looking through it and I'm like, I remember as a kid being like, oh my God, there's reds, there's blues, there's
Yeah.
golds. And of course I never pulled a gold, you know what I mean? Like, so that was my number one chase card for, I wasn't chasing it for 30 years. We're just going to say that like when I got back into collecting, it was like this, like, North Star, I guess you'd say. It was like the card that I was like, one day I'm going to add that. And so
Right.
for those of you who haven't held that set, it's just like incredible card. Like I feel like you could like shut the lights off and when you have the card out and it would glow. Like it's crazy, man. Like you know what it's like.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
So yeah, that's my top 7. So sorry I didn't give you 5.
No, that's strong. Give me your top. What? Give me the top three that you're after. So, because there's plenty of people out there listening that could potentially help with this.
Listen, if anybody has the Hardball Galaxy, I'm in. I'm your guy, no matter the
Yeah.
cost. No, I'm just kidding. Um, yeah, so some of the cards I'm looking for, and like, um, for those of you who I like, let me give you a little background. So I've always kind of worked off lists. I know Zan, you're a big list guy, so you know what I'm saying. I have like the master list of Mo, and anytime I pick up a Mo, I would cross it off. And a couple months ago, I was full in. I was buying Mo, and I'm checking them off. I'm getting base. I'm getting some numbered cards, and I'm just like, what's my end game here? I'm not going to collect every single card. I know that I'm not going to be able to get some of the masterpieces or complete the master set. There's like 1,800 Red Sox cards. Um, so I had to like kind of strip it down, and I think my focus moving forward for Mo has to just be the rare cards that I'm looking for. Like I can't spend my money on, buying $20 worth of base cards just to check off a list. So these wants are might be a few years until I get them. So, or if ever. Um, but number one is the 98 PMG Hardball Galaxy, and I don't know what it is. I have the base card of it, so I can just imagine that the 98 PMG Hardball Galaxy is incredible in hand. But that's number one. I have seen it pop up on eBay from time to time, but I have just way outside my price range right now. So um, I would be looking for the worst copy of that card, most affordable copy if possible. Um, Number two, and so we'll just say number two would be the 98 PMG. Again, I never see it pop up, but that'd probably be number two, just the base one. Number three was the 97 Topps Finest Atomic Die Cut Refractor. I don't have that one. I tried to buy it last year on eBay, and I had it in my cart, like when it was posted for like a minute. I put it in my cart. I hit buy now. And as I was checking out, it said item no longer available, and I haven't seen another one pop up since. And that was like 6 months ago.
Yeah.
Um,
That's the golden boss. Is he on the? He's
yeah,
the power layout, right?
the
That's
power
his.
one.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
I've seen the one that's not die cut, so it doesn't have like
Mm.
the edges that the die
Right.
cuts
The
do.
deckled edges. Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen the regular. I don't know if it's a backdoor copy or not. But I haven't pulled the trigger on that because I want the legit one.
Right.
I know that there's other ones, but I want the die cut refractor. Number four would be like the 97 grand finale. Never seen that one pop up either. Um, and then 99 Pacific Prism Red. So like I want the red one, not I don't care about the other ones. 97, by the way, that's an underrated set.
It's
99
very
Pacific.
hard to find. The red is very hard to find.
Yeah, I mean, I can just imagine what Mo would cost. I remember like last year there was like a Tim Wakefield for like $500 on eBay, and I was like, that actually is
Yeah.
pretty insane. But somebody might buy that, and then
Yeah, they might.
um, but yeah, have you ever held any of those 99 Pacific cards? Those things are awesome. If there's a guilty pleasure of mine, it's that set. They're like the mirrors and the hollows and all those are
Yeah.
pretty cool.
They had that era of Pacific definitely. I just never really got it. I got into some of the Aurora and Omega stuff as a
Mm-hmm.
kid, but I've never owned the red. the Prism Red from that year. But it's definitely one I
Yeah.
want to see in person.
Well, what was the quote in Rudy? Having dreams is what makes life tolerable, Zan. I'm
There
telling
you
you
go.
right now.
That's
So some of
that's
these are
it.
dreams. There we go. I had to throw Notre Dame in here tonight, and that's it.
There you go. There you
Um,
go. Well, where do you see this kind of going in the next, say 6 months, year or two? I mean, it sounds like you've got
yeah.
a list, but you've got it. You've got goals and stuff like that for this. Do you feel like this is your singular track here, or do you see yourself expanding into other areas?
Yeah, so I think I'm gonna stay pretty disciplined with Mo moving forward. I listened to your episode last week about how you talked about collecting like a pyramid where you're like the top of the pyramid, and then you have these, how you have your Randy and Pedro, and then you have Giles and Ben Coates somewhere in there. They kind of fall on the side of the pyramid or the bottom layer. I don't know if that's what you said, but that's how I
That's about yeah,
interpreted
that's right.
it.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so Mo is definitely like the top of my pyramid. And like I need to stay disciplined and like if I'm gonna make a big purchase, it's likely going to be a Mo. Um I also have like, I laid it out the other day. I probably have like another like 7 or 8 cards that are, just cards I'll never let go. Like I have it's just like my little side PC. So I have like a page 98 Pedro Rave #1. I have both Platinum Medallion Nomars #1s, like just unique stuff that I like outside Mo. So that's like probably the first bottom of the my pyramid. But I also have a pyramid. The other side of the pyramid is I like to pick up local guys that I played either with or against, um, and try to find like their best card. So like I played travel baseball growing up, and so I have a few teammates that played either in the minors, and they have Bowman cards. And so like what I'll do is I'll try to find their Bowman Reds and Supers and stuff like that. And they're crazy affordable. Like I think I just picked up a teammate of mine's growing up when I played AAU with him. His Bowman Chrome Red out of 5 for less than $20, and
Nice.
it's like I have this like local legend side PC of mine.
That's fun.
Yeah, and so like I don't know, I'm just trying to be more disciplined with things. And like I said earlier, I haven't bought a card in a few weeks, and I'm like, what am I doing? Am I even in cards anymore? Um, there's been a lot less mail days here, but I think it's just more disciplined buying. And it's like I just got my butt kicked on the other ones, on the not feeling connected to things. And I think for the first time ever, I'm like, I don't know, I have a plan. I have not itching for mail days. I'm just like doing me, and I'm like trying to build a good collection where everything means something,
That's a
And
great. Yeah.
I don't know if that's the answer you're looking for, but
No, that's absolutely yeah. That's exactly. It's a great note to end on. I think patience is a virtue. I appreciate all the insight
yeah, man.
you've brought to tonight, and people can find Aaron collect like a champion on Instagram. If you have any good Mo Vaughns, send them his way.
I'm
Aaron,
your guy. I'm your guy.
yes, he's your
Tell
guy.
your kids.
All right, Aaron. Thanks so much for joining, man.
All right. Thanks, Ann.
What a great interview, Aaron. Thank you so much for coming on. Definitely reignited the passion for me to conduct those types of interviews, to get to hear from people like Aaron and other collectors. So I've got a couple more that I've lined up that I want to get to here in the next few weeks. So stay tuned for that. I'm trying to get Brian back. I promise he'll be back. Who knows how regularly, but we're going to try to make it work. Either way, I'll be here. I got nothing but time on my hands. So you guys take care, and we'll catch you next week.